Okay. Okay, so today we're looking at, oops, sorry, I just accidentally stopped it. We're looking at diversity in the classroom. So the objectives for this training are that participants will be able to define and discuss diversity and inclusion within Myanmar, discuss possible implications for teaching towards the different groups. It's kind of a mouthful. So some community guidelines. We are happy to have everyone here. Please try and arrive on time, but if you're late, that's okay, and just join in. If you have technological or technical issues, and you have to exit and enter again, that's completely fine, and we understand. Please mute yourself when you're not talking so we don't get background noise, but please remember to unmute yourself when you would like to talk and to speak loudly when you are talking. We want to be able to hear everyone. Oops, sorry. Please complete the pre-class self-paced interactive slides for practice beforehand on each section. They can be found on Google on Facebook in the Google Classroom, and they're also sent in the email. If you do not finish those before, you can do them afterwards as practice. I will also be sending out a post-class evaluation or feedback form. It would be much appreciated if you would fill it in so that we can revise and help develop the course to better fit your needs. If you have questions or technical issues during the session, please email us at info.hett@gmail.com, or you can send a message in the chat box. Okay, so my name is Lisa Vance. I am going to be leading or facilitating this training. And I previously was in Myanmar, and I've done some English teaching, environmental education, and teacher training before. And I've done a lot of experience within the field of education. And Kathleen is my co-host. So Kathleen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kathleen Greiwe. I'm an English and Spanish teacher. I'm currently located in the US, but I've taught both online and in Mexico in the past.
Cool. Okay, so show of thumbs. How well do you understand diversity? So not at all, somewhat, and extremely well. So diversity, how well do you understand? On the count of 3. So 1, 2, 3. How well do you understand diversity? Okay, some people have their cameras off. Some people I can see. Okay, so it depends. Okay, so how much do you know about your students? Does anyone want to tell me how much they know about their students, or type in the chat box how much they know about their students? Like, what do you know about most of your students? Do you know nothing about them? Do you know any of their background information?
As our university is the countryside, in the countryside, we have many different students in religion or in culture and many other things.
Okay, cool. Good. So that's good to know. And then someone wrote, In the chat box, not much. Only the data from the student form. Someone else wrote a little. Then someone else wrote they are different in knowledge levels and critical thinking. Okay, yeah. So it probably does matter where you're located, and just your own teaching and your own classes when it comes to what you know. Okay, so what is diversity? Can someone define diversity for me? What is the definition of diversity in your own words? You can either type it or tell me.
Differences.
Good. Differences? Yep. Yeah. Anyone else? Various ways? Yep. Different backgrounds? Good. Different types? Good. So we're looking at people when we're talking about diversity. So you can have diversity of other things, but here we're looking at people. So diversity within a group of differences within a group of people. Okay, good. A variety of things. Not the same, exists everywhere, impacts learning and teaching. So yeah, like anywhere you go in the world, there's going to be some diversity. You're going to have people from different backgrounds, different religions, different beliefs. So it's pretty much within any type of group of people. And then this can have an impact on their learning and then also on your teaching, because you might teach differently to different people depending on their background. And then obviously they might learn differently based on their background information. Okay, what does inclusion mean? Can someone define inclusion or type it in the chat box? What is the definition? Inclusion. Integration, all involvement. Good. Anyone else? Participation in a group, intentional act. Okay, good. Yeah. So it's bringing excluded people into a group. So maybe you have people, so if there's like a group of people and some aren't involved, you're bringing them in, you're including them into what you are doing. And good, it is an intentional act. You're purposely trying to bring them in, and you're trying to increase the sense of belonging. You want them to feel like they belong and they're part of your group. So that's kind of what inclusion is. So for our first kind of activity or discussion, we're going to look at different types of diversity that you can have. And I'd like everyone to participate by having everyone type in the Zoom chat box. So one type of diversity is ethnic diversity. Can anyone define or explain what ethnic diversity is?
Ethnic diversity.
Sorry, what was that? Okay, I see ethnic, multiple races. Yeah. It's not quite, they could have different languages. That might be part, yeah.
Different culture, national background.
Yeah, different cultures and national background. Excellent. So it's kind of your cultural background, your national background, and it can obviously lead to conflict if people have different cultural backgrounds. Okay, this is where I want everyone to type in the chat box. I would like you, because I know there's lots, to write some of the different ethnic groups that you know of in Myanmar. So I'll give you about 1 minute to do this. What are some of the different ethnic groups? So you have 1 minute. So type in the box. So an example, just so to make it easy, might be Mon, people who are Mon. That's one ethnic group in Myanmar. So what other ethnic groups are there in Myanmar? Okay, so you have about 1 minute. Okay. Okay, good. I see some answers. What other ones? Good. 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 What else? Good. Any others? Okay, good. Good. Yeah, someone put 135 groups. Yeah, there's a lot of ethnic groups there in Myanmar. I don't remember exactly how many, but yeah, I could see. Depends how much you break them up. So one person said 8 main groups, but yeah, like you could kind of break the ethnic groups up into like sub-ethnic groups. Okay, good. So let's discuss and look at some of these. Good. Let's look. So yeah, I have Kachin, Kea. That's probably also, is that Quran as well? I know there's KN, Myanmar. Yeah, so the Myanmar would be like the, usually in English, I think we say like Burman. So like Burmese, but like specifically Burmese. Chin, Mon, Kayin, Mon, Myanmar, Kachin, Chin, Rakhine, Myanmar, Pao, Shan, Chin, Mon, Rakhine, Shan, Kaya, Karen, Chin, Myanmar, Mon, Rakhine, Shan. Okay, good, excellent. So yeah, there's lots of groups, but you can kind of see which ones are the main ethnic groups. So you might have students from different ethnic backgrounds. Oh, did someone raise their hand? Did you have a question? Piemon U? Okay, if you have a question, just write it in the chat box. You can also send it as a private message in the chat box, just in case. Okay, so yeah, there's lots and lots of different ethnic groups in Myanmar. And just to check, what is your ethnic background? So so again, just put in the chat box, what is your ethnic background? So what are you? Are you Myanmar or Burman? Or are you Shan? Are you Mon? What's your ethnic background? Kayan? Myanmar? Bama? Myanmar? Chin? Okay. Yeah. So, oh, so someone's a mix, Myanmar, Shan, Chinese, Armenian. Okay. Yeah. So from my understanding, most of the university instructors, and many of the students are Myanmar or Burma. But obviously not all of them are. So that's something you kind of have to think about with your lessons, that not all of your students will come from the same ethnic background as you. So they might have a different culture and different understanding of topics. So I'm a hybrid KN Chinese Burmese. Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing. There'll also be lots of people that are mixed of ethnic backgrounds. Okay. What is linguistic diversity? So if you want to put it in the chat box or tell me, what is linguistic diversity? Oh, and someone else wrote Indian students. Yeah, yeah, because it's right beside India, so I could see that. But what is linguistic diversity? Yep, so languages spoken differently. I mean, I guess that's probably the simplest. So multiple languages spoken in the same community. So what languages are spoken in your community or in your kind of area? Yeah, so dialects and ethnic language, differences in language. Good, good. So yeah, yeah, different languages. Good. So yeah, it can lead to confusion and misunderstanding. If people don't have the same language, it might make it difficult for them to understand each other. Or maybe even if they kind of have the same languages, maybe they don't have the same first language. So it's difficult they aren't completely fluent, or it's difficult to understand them. So again, in the chat box, which languages are spoken in Myanmar? Can you tell me, can you write what languages are spoken in Myanmar? Yeah. So in our university, most of the students use Burmese language, but they have different mother tongues, for example, Shan language. Good, yeah. Myanmar mainly in Burmese, Myanmar in English, Myanmar. Yeah, so what else? What other languages are there in Burma, in Myanmar? So an example was Shan, Rakhine, yeah. Chin, Kachin, Kawa, Karen, Mon, Rakhine, Shan. Okay. Yeah, so obviously the main language that is used in Myanmar is Myanmar or Burmese. But there is lots of other ethnic languages. So most of the ethnic groups, I believe, have their own language. Some of them have multiple languages. Like I know the Quran or KN, they have two main languages. And I think even within that, okay, yeah, so approximately 100 languages are spoken in Myanmar. So there's a lot of diversity when it comes to languages. So you have some people who might speak Burmese as their first language. You have some people who might speak a different language and Burmese as their second. I came across this before where I had students who were communicating in English, and outside of English, they didn't actually have a common language. So some of them did not know Burmese because they weren't at like a university or part of the public system. So they knew the ethnic languages, but did not know Burmese. And some students that knew Burmese, but not ethnic languages. So some people, like, it requires using English or Burmese or trying to find some common language. Oh, sorry. Okay, and for you, what language do you speak, or what languages, plural, do you speak? So I'll give you maybe a minute to answer that. What languages do you speak? You can put it in the chat box if you'd like. English in Myanmar? Yeah, Myanmar. English in Myanmar. Myanmar. English in Myanmar. English, Myanmar, and Chinese. TEDM, Myanmar and English. Myanmar, English, and Japanese. Myanmar and English. Okay. Myanmar and English. Myanmar. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So yeah, it's just important to think about that you're, especially if you mostly speak Myanmar or like Myanmar in English, that your students might not speak Myanmar as their first language. Most of them will, but some of them might not. What is economic diversity?
Differences in income, job,
Yeah.
and something wrong.
Yes. So yeah, differences in job and income, like how much money you have. Chat box, different forms of earning, different economic status. Yeah. So obviously this can cause a lot of
Sorry, the subscriber you have dialed is not in the service area. Please dial later.
I think someone has a phone on in the background. I'm just going to mute because I don't know who that is. But you can unmute if you would like to chat. So, different economics. Yeah. So it's your socioeconomic status. So your socioeconomic status is your placement in society. It's a mix of your income, your education, maybe your class, like it's like your class, your it could also be based on your family. So we say socioeconomic because it's not always just about money. Sometimes it can also be about societal factors. Like the type of job you have can also impact your class. So even if you make more money, but it is seen as, say, maybe the term in English is more like blue collar, you might kind of be a lower class. So it's quite complex, but it's kind of what level are you in society and how much money do you make? So obviously this can lead to inequality, as if people are making different amounts of money, then that's inequality in itself. Oops. What are some of the economic classes in Myanmar? What would you call your socioeconomic classes or status? Do you know? Can anyone type in the chat box? Anyone know? I would say oh, there's some comments. Good. A person's class in society, high income, low income, middle income. Yeah, poor country. Yeah, so it's kind of within a country. So within Myanmar, yeah, you might have people who are very rich and they have a very high income. And then you might have people who are kind of middle income. And then you might have people who are low income. And within that, and low income, and you might have people very poor. say in a country like Myanmar. So you can have a lot of diversity in economic levels. You can have people who are starving because they have no money for food, and you can have people who are very rich. But yes, normally we would say low income, middle income, and high income, and then maybe a combination like um, um, like upper middle or upper middle income or lower middle income or upper low income. Like you can divide them out even more. Yeah. So yeah, as a country, you're trying to get more. But yeah, within your country, you can have differences is what it is. So like someone who is a farmer probably makes a lot less money than a university instructor or a university professor. But a university professor might make less money than someone in the private sector. If you have a master's degree, then you might be in a higher socioeconomic class than someone who only finished grade 3 of school. So it's kind of looking at your differences based on education and your job and your income. Okay. So what class, to ask you, how would you define your own class? So we'll just use, let's say lower class, middle class, and upper class. So we'll use lower class, middle class, upper class. How would you define your own class? Middle class, middle class, middle class. Okay, good. Yeah, and so yeah, it's just important to remember that your students might come from different classes and it might cause issues. If they come from a lower class, it might cause issues because they might have a lot of stress outside of school. I would say that at a university, you're probably more likely to see students from middle class or upper class, but you might have people on scholarships or that type of thing, or I don't know if you can have student loans, and that might come from a lower class, and they can have stress outside of school. You might have people from an upper class that are used to having like everyone look after everything, and so they struggle they might struggle to maybe fit in with people who are more middle class. So it really depends. In my opinion, according to current situation, within a few years, there may be upper and lower class. Yeah, so yeah, there might be more of a divide, I think. Oh, sorry, I wrote that down. Okay, what is religious diversity? Different religions? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, people who follow different religions, it's part of your identity. So some people are very strongly religious. It's very much part of who they are. Because concerned with different worship, different beliefs, different religion, different belief in religion. Okay, good. So yeah, religion can lead to persecution, isolation, and conflict. So I know this is especially true in Myanmar. There is a lot of conflict based on religion. So which religions are practiced in Myanmar? Does anyone want to type in the chat box? What are some of the religions practiced in Myanmar? Anyone? I think most of you are religious, so okay, good. Buddhism, Christianity, Hindu, Islam, Buddhism, Christian, Buddhist, Islam, Omiddity. I don't know what Omiddity is. Mostly Buddhist, Christian. Yeah. So okay, good. See if anyone else wants to answer. Buddhism, Christian. Okay, good. Yeah, I think the largest religion in Myanmar is Buddhism, but there's also a lot of Christians because there used to be missionaries from abroad, from Europe, that visited Myanmar. So there's lots of Christians. There's lots of people who are Muslim or Islam. I don't know. I know in Thailand, there's people who are animalist, I think is the term. And it's more like traditional kind of religion based on animals and nature, but I don't know a lot about it. Okay. And what religions are you? So can everyone type in the chat box, what religion are you? Okay, Buddhist, 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 Buddhist. Okay, good. Buddhist. Yeah. So again, it's just important to think about that again, a lot of your students will be probably Buddhist, but not all of them. So you might have some students who are Christian, some students who are Muslim, and it's good to, as a teacher, it's good to be inclusive and not judge other people based on their religion. I do know that there is issues of conflict, especially between Buddhists and Muslims in Myanmar. But as a teacher, try and be accepting of students with different backgrounds and that they might come from different religions. But yeah, like I know that there is conflict between the Buddhists and Muslims, and that there has been conflict between some Christian groups, especially some Christian ethnic groups and some Buddhist ethnic groups. So there's been some conflict as well. But I have met quite a few Christians that live in Myanmar. And then there's also people who are atheist, which means they do not have any religion. So there's some people with no religion, or there's people who are agnostic, which means that it kind of means they don't know, or they're still deciding. They're looking for proof. So you have to realize, like, not everyone, and even if you are Buddhist, maybe you have there's different types of Buddhism. So you might have different ideas around Buddhism. Okay. So in groups, you will read case studies about challenges of diversity in schools. So there'll be 3 cases, I believe. Use a Pear Deck to write what you would do as the teacher in this situation. So if you have questions or technical difficulties, you can send an email at info.hett@gmail.com, or you can hit the help button. Okay, so I'm going to share in the chat box. So there's a link, and I'll just quickly show you. So there's 1, 2, and 3 situations, and I would like you to write in your groups all together what you would do as the teacher in that situation. And I will check on you. So I'm going to put you into breakout groups. So we'll do 3 breakout rooms. So please work together and have one person screen share. I'm just double checking everything's all good. So you have 10 minutes. I'm gonna go check on the breakout rooms.
မွတ်စလင်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးရေးထားတာဆို religion နဲ့ပတ်သက်ကိုသားဆိုဘယ်လိုရေးမလဲကျန်တဲ့ teacher တွေရှိလား
Try to explain religion is important. Each and how
Okay, so next
နောက်တစ် slide တစ်ချက်သွားမယ်เนาะဒီချင်း
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဒီဟုတ်ကဲ့
ဒီပါဒီချင်းဟုတ်လားအဲ့ဆိုနောက်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့
next slide ဒီမှာဒီချင်း what would you do if you were the
Lisa, you're muted.
Okay, my apologies about that. Okay, let's look at the first one. So the first one, it mentions that the girl is Buddhist. Is Muslim. So she has a different religion. So try to persuade other students to respect her. Yeah. I encourage the students who are Buddhist not to leave out the student as Muslim. Different people believe in different religions, and so everyone has a chance to choose his or her religion. Oh, okay. If your connection is really bad, maybe just try and listen as best as possible. Yeah, you can send your answers here if you'd like. That's okay. To try to explain every religion is important in the class. I will explain each has their own belief as we have Buddhism, and as we believe in Buddhism as our religion, and you can give them a hand to collaborate and achieve. Good. I would suggest a student be strong in what they believe and keep a good mind. School is safe for all students. It doesn't matter what the religions are. Okay, good. Yeah, so you can maybe talk to your students about different religions and about being accepting of different religions. You could maybe mention, as it said, about school being a safe place, an inclusive place for everyone. Some teachers, maybe on the first day of class, might have an agreement that they could have students sign to be respectful to people of diverse backgrounds. It could be on your syllabus if you have a syllabus, or it could be a class discussion if it needs to be, or not if it needs to be, but you can make it into a class discussion as well. Okay. So this one is that the student doesn't speak Burmese as their first language, and so has an accent and comes from a small village and is worried about fitting in. So explain the differences in language and should be respectful. Explain that accent mocking is rude, so to avoid. I would encourage him or her not to be shy, and then he or she will be accustomed slowly. I encourage a student to practice gradually and not to be afraid. As long as he practices, he becomes familiar with the Burmese accent. Yeah, so you could talk to the student and kind of know that maybe you're there to support them with language. You can encourage the student themselves so that they fit in better and they feel part of the group. You can talk to the whole group about making sure people feel included and that people have different accents. Everyone has different accents. I'm sure even me and Kathleen, we have different accents, maybe not too much, but a little bit. I'm Canadian, she's American, but everyone in the world pretty much has a different accent, or different regions have different accents. So it's just something that is normal. And the last one, Okay, so this one, the student comes from a poor background and does not have a lot of money. They are interested in going to school, but at the same time, their parents would like them to work and they could make more money if they were working. And I've definitely seen this happen before, where the student has wanted to study, but their parents want them to work and make money. So I've had a few students like this, where their parents are trying to force them to work while they want to study. So encourage students not to be disappointed, help the basic needs of the student. Yeah, you might be able to help. Yeah, so you might be able to help with some of the basic needs of the student. You might not be able to. It depends on the situation. Obviously, you can't be helping with everything, but maybe within your classroom you can. I mean, I think it's a difficult situation, not in the formal sector, but like informally when I was teaching with like more, not refugees, I guess, some of the refugees and along the Thai-Myanmar border, I did give money to some of my students. But obviously, I think in the formal sector, like a university, that's a bit more difficult. It's a bit, it is a bit of a difficult situation if they don't have any money. But yeah, you can encourage them with their schoolwork, so support them to complete their classwork. Encourage him or her not to be very worried for that. Maybe encounter his parents and explain the importance of education in detail. Request help from a rich background for him. Yeah, there might be scholarships available, especially at the university level. If someone comes from a poorer background, some NGOs and nonprofits have scholarships and they help cover costs, including living costs. So I studied in Bangkok for a while, and some of the Burmese students I know there, they had their university covered, including living expenses, small amount for living expenses. So there is scholarships available to help cover those costs sometimes. But yeah, and just being encouraging and being supportive and trying and maybe explaining the benefits, like even the economic benefits long term of going to university, so that maybe they can't work now, but once they finish, they can make more money. So, okay, and then looking at the chat box, I'm going to read it now. Sorry. Okay, so as a teacher, firstly, I privately discuss with the Muslim student, being different in religion is not your fault and no need to shame. Maybe you're wearing a little strange, but it doesn't matter. And I told all the class not to be serious and explain them different religions is not a problem. The problem is discrimination. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. The problem isn't about the religions. The problem is about discrimination. Making discrimination is really bad for our society, and not to blame other religions. Blaming other religions may not make your religion good. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of religions have the belief that you're supposed to do good to other people. So if you're discriminating against other religions, you're not really doing good. And yeah. Okay. Present. Okay, so how can knowing about your student's background help you be a better teacher? So you can tell me or type it in the chat box. So just to kind of summarize. It's all good. To communicate well with the students. Good, yeah. To communicate, building rapport, yeah. Establishing relationships, yeah. Trust. We can take care about the differences and build a good class communication, yeah. Making a familiar surrounding and to discuss their feelings. I can understand their difficulties. Chatting warmly with students. Better learning, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, more familiar with the students and more effective to teach, yeah. Yeah, so if you know their backgrounds, you know how, yeah, it helps me to know how to encourage their emotional encouragement, listen to their feelings. I'll frankly discuss their background to try to help them as I can, know their individual needs. Good. Giving essay topics to write or building close relationships. Yes, you can ask them to do an essay on their background as a way to find out about them. Understanding their feelings. Yeah. So yeah, you can, as a teacher, we have to know what they want and what they need. Good, yeah. So yeah, like knowing about your student's background and then being able to adjust based on their background can help their learning because you can support them in areas where they might be weak or you know what they are struggling with and then maybe you can help them out in some way if they are struggling. Additionally, when it comes to diversity, or especially like minorities, if sometimes if we don't think about minorities or we don't think about people who are different, we forget that there are people with different backgrounds than us. So if you kind of get the background information of your students, it helps remind you that they do come from different backgrounds. And when you are reminded about that, it helps you adjust to the student. Because if you aren't reminded, then maybe you don't think about it and you don't think about the problems that they might face. So it allows you to think about the problems your students might face in your classroom. Okay, so how well do you understand diversity? Not at all, a little bit, and very much so. So show of thumbs on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me check. Okay, awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so thank you very much. I will be sending out, oh, okay, good. I will be sending out the course feedback or the feedback forms later, for me later today, but for you guys it might be when you wake up tomorrow you might receive it. And I will send, in that will be an invitation to join the Google Classroom. So if you're not already part of the Google Classroom, you can join. I'm posting all the slides and all the videos and all the activities on there. So if you miss any of them, or if you want to practice them again, they are on there. So next week's topic, we're going to look at disabilities in the classroom. So that's, and then there's the teacher training syllabus, which you can also find in the Google Classroom. Okay, so thank you very much. Lots of people are saying thank you. So thank you very much and bye-bye.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, and these are the resources if anyone wants.
I like the image.
Yeah.
You are very pretty.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. I'm gonna close it now. I keep hitting the wrong button.